The new WarGreymon from BT12 is incredibly powerful and it can do a ton of things all at the same time. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be showcasing the brand new WarGreymon Raid Deck Profile. There are a ton of really good new support cards for the Agumon and the Greymon line, which gives this deck a ton of tools to face against all the different meta decks of the current format. With the combination of Tide, the deck can raid now, block, reboot, and deal tons of damage at the same time with security plus effects and DP boosts. The deck is very memory efficient and can play ties for free even. With the restriction of WarGreymon X from BT11, it is still not enough to stop this deck from popping off, where I'll be showing you guys how to play it within the combo segment later on as well. But first, let's show you guys what we have for the deck profile today. Alright, starting with our Digi-8 cards, got 4 copies of Koromon. This one's the BT9 one that gives you extra 1k as long as your Digimon has Agumon or Greymon in its name. Still very strong. DP power is definitely important, but I will talk about an alternative egg that you guys can play instead as well later in the section when we cover all the other cards. But yeah, 4 of these guys is all you really need. Next up, let's talk about the brand new Agumon from BT12 into our rookies. This is the first one that we definitely want to be playing 4 copies of and seeing as often as we can. This is the brand new Searcher, which works very well with the deck. First, it does cost 1 to Digivolve on top of a regular black egg. However, you get to Digivolve for 0 on top of a Koromon. On play, review the top 4 cards of your deck, adding 1 Digimon card with Greymon or Omnimon in its name, and 1 Tamer card with Taikamiya in its name among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom. This brand new Searcher is going to effectively get you more hits. Being able to grab a Greymon, Omnimon, and a Tai is just going to be that good because you can just really get your efficient hits and gather pieces even faster than before. And it has the all turns. While this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in its name, it gets extra 1000 DP. And this is the very first Agumon that is going to be both colors in black and red, which gives us a lot of versatility for an entire archetype, which is going to be extremely powerful and good, and definitely 4 copies is what you want to be seeing. Next, we have still play the old BT5 Agumon because this one's still a really good Searcher, just as a one-off, but definitely not as good as the brand new BT12 one. But being able to grab yourself a Greymon and Omnimon is always going to be nice for sure, so 1 is really all you need. Because we also have more room that we want to work with still the BT9 Agumon X. This one's still going to be really good in terms of like cycling through cards because you can Digivolve on top of an Agumon for 0 and search. It has both on play and when Digivolving to search for cards that you need, adding Greymon or Omnimon, and an X antibody option card as well is definitely what you want to be seeing. So yeah, 4 copies of Agu X is there to go. Then for the final Agumon that we play, we still play the 4 copies of this promo one. Also, I do have a different suggestion of a different Agumon you guys can play, which I'll talk about a bit more later in the other cards section. But I generally still prefer this one because this one's the consistency, always getting the extra 2k no matter what, no caveats whatsoever, as long as it has Greymon in its name. So it's going to be very helpful for sure. And yeah, 4 copies of this one is definitely what we need because DP is important. Just to let you guys know, I actually posted the deck list on the Avault Club membership already. So if you guys want to see early exclusive community posts that includes my first draft deck profiles and constant updates, then be sure to join right now by clicking on the join button. I'll also leave links with the icon on the top right and in the description box down below. Also, if you haven't done so yet, be sure to like and subscribe as it really helps the channel, and thank you guys so much for the support. That's it for level 3s. Let's talk about our level 4s, where we do have 3 copies of this brand new Greymon from BT12. It Digivolves for 3 on top of a regular black Digimon, but you can Digivolve for 2 on top of an Agumon in its name. Any Agumon will do, which is going to be very, very efficient. And when Digivolving, if you don't have a Tamer in play with Taikamiya in its name, you get to play 1 card with Taikamiya in its name from your hand for free. We do play several Taikamiyas in this deck. It's going to be super helpful. Being able to play a Tamer for free is ultra value with this card. And the reason why I just want to play 3, you guys can play 4 for further consistency, but usually you really only get a chance to really utilize this effect once, because afterwards you utilize it once, you don't really get to use it ever again in the entire game afterwards. Otherwise, its all turns effects is also really good with its inheritable, giving you extra 1000 DP if you have Greymon or Omnimon's name, exactly the same as the Agumon from BT12. Next, I still like to run the 2 security plus 1 Greymons for extra damage, extra aggression. You can, close games very quickly and potentially just like wipe out your opponent's security even faster. And that's really what I want to go for. But of course, there's so many Greymons to choose from now on. We're going to talk about more of those as well later on. Then moving into the X antibody versions, we still want to play the one-off of the Greymon X from BT11. This one is just so good, so strong, Digivolving for 0 on top of a Greymon, and it helps you reduce the Digivolution cost. And playtesting and understanding really shows me why this card is limited. I understand why, because then this deck will be extremely incredibly powerful, which lets you bridge into your level 5s for potentially only 2 costs. And for this particular deck, you can actually only digivolve for 1 cost into the BT12 Metal Greymon, which is absolutely insane. And it gives you the protection with Inheritable as well, so super useful card. But yeah, you definitely run a one-off no matter what. For sure in this build. And then of course, since you can't play 4 copies of that anymore, the most ideal sort of like straightforward replacement is to play the Greymon X back from BT9, just to give you the regular protection that it has. Still really good because you build a big stack with multiple levels. It's going to help you a lot, and you definitely want that protection no matter what. And you definitely like Digivolving for 0 to cycle through more cards for efficiency. So yeah, these are the other 3 copies of the level 4s I have. And that's it for the level 4s. Let's talk about our level 5s, showcasing our brand new Metal Greymon here from BT12. This one does a whole bunch of stuff and gives you so much value. Once again, it digivolves for 4 on top of regular black Digimon, but you can digivolve it for 3 on top of any Greymon in its name, including like a Greymon X antibody as well. So being memory efficient, trying to restrict within the archetype is really what it's trying to do. First, it has Raid, so that you can switch into like an attack target and then into something that your opponent's unsuspended Digimon with the highest DP. And then its secondary effect combinates together with the Raid effect, because when an attack target is switched, and it's all turns by the way, you get to play 1 black or red Tamer card with a play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying any memory cost. Essentially going to be any of your ties. That's what you're going to be going for with this effect. So you can, play ties for free. That's going to be super turbo efficient again for you to get into your top end combo and the full, combo, which I'll show you guys all together. And then with its inheritable effect is that your turn while this Digimon has Greymon Army on its name, it also gets the piercing. And yeah, that's exactly why you definitely want to play 4 copies of this one no matter what, because it's just that great, brand new, super strong level 5 for the deck. And you definitely want to see it as soon as possible and as often as possible too. Next, we have 1 Altruist mode. I'm juggling between 1 or 2 copies of this one. Still really good because it can Digivolve on top of Metal Greymon for 0. You can pop something that's 5k or less as long as you have a Tamer in play when Digivolving. Itself counts as a Metal Greymon in its name as long as it's in the battle area as well. And it gives you that extra layer of protection, just like Greymon X, for, just being able to, prevent any deletion effects, any bottom decking effects, any bouncing effects is still really, really good. So yeah, at least 1 is definitely what I would recommend. And then for the X antibody stuff, we do have the 3 copies of Metal Greymon X. This one is definitely, digivolving for 0 on top of Metal Greymon, and you get the security plus 1, extra 3,000 until the end of your opponent's turn. Gives you the aggression that you need. Combos very nicely with your, again, top end combo with Taikamiya and WarGreymon, which we're going to talk about and showcase more later on. But yeah, this one definitely is the one that I definitely want to see more, so then compared to all the other Metal Greymon X's that we have. That's it for level 5s. Let's talk about our level 6s, and we have the 3 copies of the brand new BT12 WarGreymon, and he does a whole lot of things. Digivolving for 4 on top of a regular level 5 black Digimon, but you get to Digivolve for 3 on top of a Metal Greymon in its name. Once again, X antibody is going to count for it, which is going to be really great. It has Raid, really, really good, efficient new effect that lets you swing over unsuspended stuff. And then when Digivolving until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon gets extra 3,000 DP and gains Reboot. So with all the DP racking up effects, this guy can go super strong, super big for 1 whole turn, which is going to give you so much advantage, and it's going to be so strong, and it's going to be very difficult for your opponents to sort of combat against you. Reboot's important too, because it's going to combo against with blocker that you're going to be having. It has all turns once per turn. When an attack target is switched, unsuspend this Digimon. This includes if it was blocking too. So it's almost like the brand new version of the Black WarGreymon from BT8. This one, does crazy bunch of stuff, which has both offense and defensive capabilities, which is why it's such a good card. And you definitely, again, want to be seeing this as often as you can as your main boss Digimon. But we do have a secondary boss Digimon as well in this deck. I guess, is also like the secondary main because we play 3 copies of WarGreymon X antibody, still super strong as well, digivolving for 1 on top of a WarGreymon. All turns when a card is removed from your opponent's security, you get to gain a memory back as well, and then end of attack, you get to pop things. You know, if this Digimon has WarGreymon or X antibody in its Digivolution sources, deleting your opponent's Digimon with a DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP, which is once again why racking up as much DP as we can is also pretty crucial for this deck, so then we can pop bigger things. So yeah, incredibly good card that you can go into. So you have 2 sort of strategies to go into either WarGreymon X or use the WarGreymon for control. WarGreymon X is definitely for the offensive side of things. So yeah, a good balance of 3 and 3 is very, very nice for the deck. That's it for all the level 6s. Let's just quickly jump into the level 7s here. For the Blitz Omni and the Omni X package, we have basically the BT5 Omnimon for Blitz, so then we can Digivolve and attack, and then we can go into X Antibody as well, just to finish games, trash stuff, you know, do all that kind of crazy shenanigans, which is always going to be really good. And yeah, I do kind of want to bump up an extra copy of Blitz Omnimon, just to, you know, see a little bit more consistent, but I did find it a little bit difficult to find room in this particular deck. So, you know, 1 and 1 for now definitely works out nicely. But yeah, really up to your own personal preference if you want to add more of those. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers. So with the brand new tie right here, it's super good for the deck, and we play 3 copies of because we have a lot of Tamers to work with for sure. At the start of your main phase and on play, one of your Digimon with Agumon Greymon and its name gets extra 1000 DP and blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. Again, we usually want to be playing this tie for free with all our Greymon and Metal Greymon's effects, and also your turn when one of your Digimon digivolves into Digimon with Greymon or Omnimon in its name, you get to suspend this Tamer to gain a memory back, become very efficient, make more plays during your turn, and always giving your top end or big guys that you want to have blocker is the defensive mechanic that you definitely want to have with this new Black Tamer tie, which is really good, and 3 copies is definitely one you have at least. Then we still got the 2 copies of the older BT1 tie. Memory Tamer, really important. Extra security +1 as well for the aggression is definitely the way I like it and prefer. And again, tie being in its name is going to help very nicely with your Greymon and Metal Greymon, so you can play it for free. And playing a Memory Tamer for free nowadays is just ultra value with all those effects comboing together. And then we still have 2 copies of Cool Boy. Some of you guys might want to play 3, but I realize I don't really focus that much on the X antibody stuff as before now, just because we have to make more room for the tie as well. But still a really good searcher for 2 costs, finding your X antibody pieces and your X antibody option, giving you extra draw power and memory gain as well when you digivolve on the same level with X antibody as well. So yeah, definitely at least a 2 of is what I recommend. That's it for all the Tamers. Let's talk about our options. Talking about memory and searching efficiency, 2 red memory boosts is like what I like to go for. Pretty standard staple for red decks essentially right there. And then we have the 2 copies of X antibody. You could play 3 just to see it a little bit more often, but I decided to go down to 2 just because the protection that we need, we don't play as many Greymon X's from BT11. So, you know, we're not going to be covering that kind of protection as much as we need. We get to do those like swing combos, which is kind of nice as well, and deck space is really tight, so I think at least 2 is working out very nicely for me overall. But yeah, really up to your own personal preference if you want to go 2 or 3, so I think at least 2 is definitely the way to go. And then last but not least, 1 Hades Force, which works out very nicely with this deck now because you can play this ultimate Black WarGreymon X's signature move along with the WarGreymon, because the WarGreymon we have in this deck is both black and red, and we do play a mixture of black and red sources and stuff like that to fulfill the requirements. So at least 1 is really great, potentially against some matchups you can just wipe out their boards. Otherwise, security bomb is also really nice. So I think at least a 1 of Hades Force is always going to be very useful in this deck. That's it for the 50 card main deck. Let's talk about some other cards that you guys can be playing just based on your personal preference, and there's a lot of choices and options you get to choose because of the brand new support from BT12. But first and foremost, if you don't like the extra DP Koromon, you can play the drawing Koromon instead. Being able to draw more cards is definitely nice. And yeah, that's just the other suggestion of the Digi Egg. We talked about Agumon. This is another Agumon that you can play. The Starter Deck 7 one from the Gallantmon Starter Deck. This one is a inheritable of when attacking, not once per turn. When this Digimon attacks a player, it gets extra 2000 DP for the turn. Combos very nicely with your raid combos, because if you go for raid and swing and then you switch the attack target, you still get this extra 2000 DP with its when attacking effect, and then with your WarGreymon, you do unsuspend as well, and you can do it again to get even bigger. It definitely comes in great value overall. However, I decided to go for the regular promo Agumon. Is again, like I said, I prefer the consistency of always guaranteeing that extra 2k, because you have to attack a player specifically with this one, which combos nicely once again, but then sometimes you might go into a WarGreymon X. You might want to be swinging over a Digimon instead, and you do need that extra 2k DP and pop something at the same time if you want to like wipe out 2 Digimons at the same time. So yeah, this is the reason again I chose to go for that one. But if you guys don't have access to that one, this one is a perfect substitute, honestly, I think too. Next, I have seen some other players running this Agumon particularly because of needing to see the Tamers as soon as possible. This one gives you an inheritable when attacking once returned. Review top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 Tamer card and 1 Digimon card with Agumon in its name. So give you a little bit more efficiency if you want to, again, see your Tamers a bit more frequently. This is definitely the one to go to. And then for Greymon, if you guys don't like security +1 and you want even more bigger damage with DP, then this one's definitely the way to go with the one BT5. It's also very memory efficient because you can Digivolve for 1 technically, because you gain 1 memory back as long as you're Digivolving on top of an Agumon. And yeah, this is the other one there. Speaking of some other level 5s, you can actually play this Metal Greymon X other than the other Metal Greymon X from BT9. This one does combo quite nicely because you do have Reboot for that 1 turn. You can trash your opponent's security with its inheritable. You get the D-Digivolve protection, and you get to pop something with 6k or less, and as well cannot be D-Digivolved. Is going to be helpful against certain matchups, but this one does cost 1 to Digivolve on top of Metal Greymon, so really up to you guys based on what kind of preference and sort of style you would like to play. And then for some level 6s, you can also still play the older WarGreymon just for security +1 and sort of like stopping options and security. This is not a bad tech, I think. Against certain matchups, it's going to be very good to stop basically security bombs. But otherwise, I feel like there's always enough protection in the WarGreymon deck nowadays, so then you don't really have to worry about too much with sort of the security stuff anyways. So yeah, really up to you guys. Next, there's some really cool stuff that you can actually be playing. And I'm not going to talk too long about this, but really cool to showcase. Because all the top end stuff is black and red now, you can actually even splash in some of the black WarGreymon stuff inside here as like extra spice or extra tech. Black WarGreymon from BT8 for more control, Tamer deletion, and unsuspending. Black WarGreymon X also does very similar stuff, gets the reboot and control and more defensive capabilities. And then if you want aggression, you can also go into Gaomon, D-Digivolve, security +1, reboot, and all that kind of stuff with the Blitz too, which is always very nice. So yeah, these are some really cool other like spicy level 6s that you can sort of tech in as a 1 over 2 of, or even mix and match with your top end to play a completely different style with this deck overall. Totally up to you guys right there. And then for some like removal options, we have Gaia Force and Gaia Force Zero as well. Although again, I think Hades Force is just way more memory efficient and much more better for this current meta. You can wipe multiple Tamers. I prefer that overall. But otherwise, you want single big target removals. These are some also decent choices. And then of course, if the format or meta is always getting wide, Crimson Blaze is also a good card to have as well. Really good against certain matchups to stop your opponents from playing Digimon cards with effects too. Alright, that's it for all the cards I wanted to talk about. Now let's show you guys the how to play in the combo segment of this particular deck, which is going to be very straightforward and simple, but again, showing you guys the capabilities is just like really exciting. Overall, again, in the early stages of the game, of course, you're going to be hatching. You want to be building your like sort of ideal stack, and Digivolving into whatever Agumon you really have is really the choice you have here. The newer Agumon is just great because it gives you inheritable and the on-play search. Otherwise, you know, these two guys are definitely always going to be on-played instead, so then you can sort of like search. And then, you know, these are the ideal two that you want to be Digivolving. And searching is really all you want to be doing, finding the pieces that you really want. Obviously, there's going to be times and situations you're going to be, again, continuing your search with red memory boost, play your cool boys if you have any to sort of manipulate the memory gauge. And in some situations, usually you don't want to be too greedy just to play with your ties with your free effects. But there are some situations you just don't have a choice, and you just have to play a tie from your hand because the memory manipulation right there really favors you. So you got to go ahead and do so. It's not too bad either way anyways, because all these ties stack up on effects. Having multiple of these guys are just going to be even more beneficial for you anyways. So yeah, at some situations, don't feel bad having to hard play and use the memory to go for it and whatnot. But anyways, let's just show you how you want to go about the stack. Obviously, sometimes you do want to just cycle through more and Digivolve the X antibody in your raising. So so then you're sort of like building up your protection effects as well at the same time. And this is when you really get to choose sort of when you want to push out or not. Otherwise, there's two ways. Again, like I said, if you want to push out and go into a Greymon like this so that you can play a tie for free, only make sure you do this if you don't have a tie on the board. Otherwise, sometimes it's not too bad if you just Digivolve it right here in the battle area on top of the Agumon that you searched with earlier to play a tie for free. And then this is sort of like your bait Digimon right there. So whatever happens to it, it doesn't really matter in your personal opinion. And then you can just sort of like build a different kind of Greymon inside the stack. Ideally, it could be your security +1 or just build the second one inside there. Just to make sure you have access to sort of 2. And then you want to be Digivolving into your X antibody again to build more stack and cycle through more cards. And again, if you do have this particular one, the BT11, which is going to be super good and crucial, because once you're ready and have this guy instead, you can push this guy out, and then you can actually go into this Metal Greymon for 1 cost only. And this is because it first meets the requirements of Digivolving for 3 on top of a Greymon in its name, and with Greymon X antibody, because this Metal Greymon is black and red, it reduces the cost by 2, so you only pay 1 memory, which is incredibly efficient. And this is why this deck is incredibly strong if the Greymon X antibody from BT11 is put, you know, if you can play 4 copies of. Sometimes when your turn is still retained, you can do some early raids into your opponent's Digimon that is like lower DP. Make sure you can swing over some of their stuff, and then you can also use its all turns once per turn to play one of these Tai Kamiyas for free as well, giving you extra value. You can play this one, you can play either or. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you can stack them up, which always gives you value. Tai Kamiya can give this guy blocker and extra 1000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. And when you do play this tie and you Digivolve even further into your level 6s later on, like here into your WarGreymon, you can suspend these ties to gain the memory back. So you only effectively pay 1 or 2 memory to get into this WarGreymon. And then you can also raid and reboot and do all those shenanigans, which is absolutely crazy with it. If you want to go for the all-out aggressive style instead, you can go into the WarGreymon X antibody instead of WarGreymon directly to swing into your opponent's security, you know, to retain sort of your turn with these ties. You know, cool boys, if you ever use them to gain more memory boost and whatnot, to again, like retaining your turn, swing to your opponent's security for multiple checks. You know, at least 2, 1 from this Greymon, 1 from himself, and then you have the memory tie. You get to swing even more, gain memory back with it as well, and sort of switch your gears depending on what playstyle you want. And sometimes in some situations, I personally don't really like to do this as much, but you can Digivolve your WarGreymon X on top of your actual WarGreymon 2, and then, you know, go for those big combo plays and basically finish off the game. And again, once you get into like lethal range with your opponent with 1 security left, you can go for Blitz Omni combo with X antibody and whatnot, and sort of basically go from there. Pretty crazy stuff overall with this. And then of course, the other thing I want to quickly show you guys, if you ever want to go for the WarGreymon X play, this is when you can slide in the X antibody option, attack with your Metal Greymon. You can even do a raid combo with it and then get into your Metal Greymon, WarGreymon X again, and then pierce through their security and then delete something that they have as well afterwards. Again, the more DP you rack up with your ties, with your inheritables and whatnot, the more higher stuff you can delete with it as well. So it's really, really good. And yeah, that's basically how you want to be playing this deck. Very straightforward, pretty flexible on the top end side of things as well, which makes this super cool. And WarGreymon being one of the strongest, best decks as well in this current format, which I think is definitely a little bit underrated at the moment. That will wrap up for the deck profile for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. We got lots more Digimon videos and content coming with BT12 deck profiles, so be sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on that notification bell to stay tuned. If you guys just can't wait, I want to see early deck lists and first drafts made by me, then definitely join the Avault Club right now as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video, and this is Avault, signing out.